I'm not in charge. I'm just here for the
Greenhouse is down, stay about 20 minutes.
Everyone hear me okay? We all right to speak up. So I'm gonna get it started before I turn it over to the speakers for tonight. So just some quick introductions. I think everyone knows Kemp Cates is Commissioner for Precinct 4.
I think you're going to have to stand in front.
Stand here. So, Kemp Cates behind me. Judge Hal Richards is county judge. My name is Jerry Dean. I'm an administrator. I work in the judge's office. So, really, I'm just going to help get us kicked off today. Walk us through the agenda. And the presentation will take about 30 minutes or so. Then we'll have some time for some interaction and some Q&A. We're socializing and passing around a assignment sheet. We'd like to capture your information if we can so we can send things out to you. Coming out of the judge's office, we're going to be sending out more and more public information so they want us to know who you are and how to get contact with you. So, you'll hear Commissioner Cates going to talk about the precinct to get an overview of kind of Precinct 4, some of the challenges, some of the things he's doing in the future of the precinct. We'll spend some time talking about road projects, kind of walking you through what it takes to get on a road project, especially a big road project, kind of the steps and the timelines of that. You'll hear from the judge who's going to talk about county operations, kind of what has been and where we're going in the future. And then if you haven't heard, yesterday in your commissioner's court, a bond measure was approved. And so there'll be a bond measure on the November ballot. We wanted to get some information out there to everybody about this bond, have you a chance to really ask some questions so we understand it. Back in the back of the room, I've got some handouts. I've got a map, which is a small version of the map that you see here, which will be this map will be part of an interactive website. So you'll be able to go to the map, click on a road, and find out exactly what that road is, where it's happening, and when the construction is going to happen, etc. And then there's a complete list of all the projects showing you kind of the dollar amounts that have been assigned for all of them. So with that, I'm going to kick it off and let Ken know everything.
All right, guys, thanks a lot. Thanks for coming. I think I know a lot of you here. Some of you are my neighbors.
Yeah.
Being here. I live here at the country club. I live over in the poor section.
Are you going to fix the country club?
Yeah, I live on the worst road in the country club.
Chaparral?
Just so you know.
They're all bad. Chaparral?
I want to really say how much I appreciate all you folks showing up tonight. Let me just introduce a couple of people that are here with us. First, let me introduce our Precinct 4 Justice of the Peace. No, you get to sit down. This is Johnny Adams. He's our Justice of the Peace. His courtroom's there in Kemp. Now you can sit down. This is Vanessa Brooks. She's our Chief Deputy. She, as many of you know, we lost our constable to a heart attack not too long ago. And this fine officer stepped up and is now acting as our constable. Vanessa, I think, is going to seek the office. So even though she's a constable, if she shows up at your door, she may just be asking for your vote. And even though I know he doesn't want me to introduce him, this fine young man sitting right here, this is Barry Carter. He's the Precinct 4 Road and Bridge Supervisor. And so he really is where the rubber meets the road. If it were not for Barry, I would have absolutely nothing to talk about tonight. So I appreciate what he does every day. He wants to retire in about 14 months, but I've told him he's got a few more years to get. So come in, folks. So let me just talk about the precinct real quickly. As most of you know, I took office in January, so this was all news to me. I'm a retired cop, not a road builder, and I've certainly never been a politician. I'm learning a lot about roads, but I'm trying still not to be much of a politician, so I'm going to try to tell you the truth about where we are. Precinct 4 is the largest precinct in Kaufman County. It's over a third of the county. It has approximately 300 miles of county roads. That means it has 600 miles of county ditches, 600 miles of county easement that we mow and maintain, And Barry and his crew do that with a fluctuating crew of between 17 and 19 guys. I think yesterday we had 19, today we're down to 18, right? So sometimes our workers tend to come and go. So it's a challenge. It's a challenge. The precinct really has about this year had about a $4 million, in the interest of being accurate, about a $4 million budget, of which everything that the precinct does has to come out of that. Salaries, benefits, paying all our bills, fuel, all of that stuff. But when it comes right down to it, we have about $1 million budgeted for all the roads in Precinct 4. And just to give you an idea, this precinct is really big. It runs all the way from down here at Maybank, where we live, up through Kemp, goes out through Scurry and Rosser, goes up to Crandall. At Crandall, it turns the corner and goes up the Dallas County line all the way to I-20. So it's a big, big precinct. Historically, in days gone by, Kemp, where our maintenance barn is located, was kind of central to the precinct. But precincts change every 10 years with the
Whenever we do the census, and the precincts drawn by population.
Right. Precincts are drawn by population, so every 10 years, the precincts are adjusted to be equally weighted, more or less, with voters. And so Precinct 4 continues to grow because the precinct around 40, Precinct 2, which has a lot of development, continues to be more and more dense and gets smaller and smaller, and we adjust and get bigger and bigger. So now, Precinct 4 operates in Kemp, but we truck material and trucks and equipment, sometimes 30 and 40 miles one way to a job site. So we still have some modernization and some adjustments to make, but we're trying to do that as much as we can. We literally have hundreds of culverts and something on the order of 30 bridges or so that all are maintained by the Precinct 4 Road and Bridge Guys. What have we done since January? Really, what we did for a long time was we responded to every kind of rain event there was. All through the spring, the winter, spring, and into early summer, we closed roads and opened roads and repaired washouts and replaced culverts. So the weather this year kept us 6 or 7 weeks behind where we thought we'd be right now in our road maintenance program. But we're catching up fast. We have touched in one fashion or another, whether it's just filling in the potholes or replacing culverts or in some instances building basically a new bridge. We've touched over 200 miles of road since January 1. And you have to remember that our obligation is we have to try our best to keep all 300 miles of the precinct roads open and at least passable. And we use a lot of different criteria to try to prioritize and schedule our work. So we consider things like how much traffic is on that road, how many people live on that road, what's the condition of the road now, how's that road rated by first responders, how's it rated by the post office, how the home health care agencies rate that road, is it a school bus route? So it's a really complex kind of decision process, which you can't really just plug in numbers because you kind of have to get a feel for it. And really what happens is guys like Barry who've been on these roads for 12 and 15 years, we really rely on their expertise as to where we need to go next, as well as public complaints, of which we get a lot. We get a lot. When I first took office there for a couple of weeks, we were having 30 calls a day. Now we're down to between 5 and 11 a day, depends on the day, asking for road work. So we also, what we've done since January is we've kind of automated our process. It used to be just walk in, or people would call and be upset about their road. Now at least we activated our, through the Kaufman County website and then through the Precinct 4 page, we activated a right from your home computer, and it automatically schedules it through my office, and then Barry and I are able to track it that way. So far, this is even a little out of date now because we're really hitting it hard. When I made this slide a week or so ago, we'd spent about $541,000. we're probably over 600,000 now without any question. Just in road materials. And we only had about $1 million budget for road materials when we started this year. We've replaced at least 6 major culverts, and a couple of them really huge. We had a culvert wash out up at Combine, ended up with about a 35 foot gap up there, stranded 8 or 10 homes. No one could get in or get out. By the time we got that job, we really didn't even have the equipment. We didn't have a machine big enough to do that. We had to contract machine work and rock work. We had to buy a giant railroad car culvert where they cut the ends off a steel railroad tanker car and have that thing installed. That was quite a sight, seeing a bunch of guys rolling that giant thing down the road and hoping it fell into the right spot when it went off the edge. The judge told me last night, the term we use in commissioner's court sometimes is redneck engineering, so he told me we need to stop saying that.
My wife told me quit saying.
And what do we use now?
County engineering, is that right? Yeah. We use
County engineering. Yeah, so we county engineered that thing into place, rolling it down the road, and it fell into the culvert, and we were able to adjust it. But that thing cost about $25 grand just to fix that one giant culvert washout. We have another bridge that washed out down here in the south end. Another culvert's washed out like 7 out of 12 years, 7 out of 15 years, something like that. So Barry and I kind of scratched our head and said, maybe we ought to put a bridge in there. So we let a contract for that bridge. That one bridge cost $86,000. And what I learned since I took this job is that even if you have the money, it's not always just a simple matter of snapping your fingers. Because big companies, big bridge building companies and road companies, they're used to these big multi-million-dollar contracts. So when you try to find somebody that will bring all their equipment and build you an $86,000 bridge, we're lucky sometimes if we even get one bid. So there's a challenge on every level. And for instance, bridge building, just to go back to that, we don't really have the capacity until just recently, and the judge is going to talk about this later. Kaufman County didn't even have an engineer on staff. We had some consulting engineers, but we did not have a county engineer. So the reality is the county doesn't even have the expertise or the capability to build a bridge. So we're either at the mercy of TxDOT to come and build it for us, or we have to hope that we can get a contractor to come and build it. What else have we done? So we really upgraded our staffing in Precinct 4. Even that has been a challenge. We've been about 3 heavy equipment operators short for most of the year. And for months, we have advertised everywhere we know to advertise, and we couldn't get a single applicant. Not a single applicant to apply for our heavy equipment operator. So when you're 3 short, that also really dramatically curtails how much you can get done. And then we hired a couple recently. We're feeling pretty good. We actually had a couple that came on board, and one just lasted 2 days, and now we're back short again. So even that is a challenge. We've added some part-time staff. We've helped out some college-bound kids around the precinct. They've learned to work into the shuttle, working with Barry and the rest of the crew, and I think we've motivated them that they want to go off to college as soon as they can. And so we're pretty close to full staffing, which is 20, but that's only that's a fairly recent occurrence. We've upgraded our construction equipment significantly since I got here. We were able to sell at auction a bunch of old equipment that either had been around and we spent more time trying to fix it and keep it running than use it, or some equipment that had been purchased in the past that really just wasn't suitable for the kind of road maintenance that we need to do in this precinct. So we have significantly upgraded our equipment. We've spent a little over $600,000. A lot of that money came from unexpended fund balances over several years that we were lucky enough to inherit this year. We bought a new grade all. We had an old grade all that was 20 years old. It was all manual operated and ran about 11 miles an hour or something. And when you got to take a piece of equipment like that, 40 miles one way to a job, it takes you all day just to move some of that stuff. So we finally we can't afford new equipment, but luckily Barry and our purchasing department at the county judge has virtually created up in the courthouse have been able to find us really good equipment and pretty good prices on used equipment. So we have a new grade-all, we bought a new roller to be able to put down a better road surface once we're able to get to that stage. We bought a couple of new utility pickups to be able to move our crews around more effectively. And we plussed up 4 dump trucks, and now we just bought another one last week as a dedicated patching, as a dedicated ditch digging truck. So unlike never before, we now have our grade-all and a dedicated crew whose job it is to virtually every day do nothing but clear ditches in this county, which are 40 years behind in that. Lack of drainage, you know, is that's the biggest enemy to quality road work, because if you can't get the water off the road, then everything you do just washes away eventually. So we're really trying to focus on stormwater management and drainage this year for sure. And we just bought the first bulldozer that the precinct ever had. So Barry's wearing that thing out every day. That thing really enables us to do jobs that we just haven't been able to do, or would have taken us 2 and 3 times longer. So this is actually some of these guys that were out here working on Country Club Drive, putting up the new speed limit signs that some of you guys here in the club have seen, patching. A lot of people around the precinct tend to think that the country club, you know, has the greatest roads and what have you.
No, we
They don't drive around it like we do. So we patch the roads in the country club just like we patch the roads everywhere else, as much as we can, as often as we can. But we have some projects that are just now able to fund. Now that we have a pretty good handle on our budget for the rest of the year, we've taken some additional funds out of several of our line items, and we had a settlement from some pipeline damage to our roads and a couple of other unique places, and we cobbled together about $716,000. And if the Commissioner's Court approves us, which I'm confident they will next Wednesday, we're going to let $716,000 of contract asphalt paving. That contract will be let and started before the end of this fiscal year. Now, road work doesn't happen overnight, so it'll still be a while before it all gets done, but at least it'll be paid for up front, and the contracts will be let. So by the time this year's over, I really feel confident that we will have rebuilt 20 or 25 miles of road in this precinct. That doesn't sound like a lot, you know, as compared to 300, but when you understand the difficulty in building these roads, particularly in this county where all of our roads in the 40s or 50s or something started out as either dirt or gravel or oil sand, and then have been built on ever since then with really no base, no substructure, no real engineering. We put down a lot of road material that's temporary in nature. So we're really trying to get away from that and actually do some quality road building work. And the projects that we have that we're going to let next Wednesday, they really span the whole precinct. There's some in Crandall around Combine, out around Scurry, and also down here, really not too far from Maybank and the club here. So we do have a lot of challenges, but we made a ton of progress, and we really have touched a ton of roads this year, despite the rain. So we're looking for an even better result next year. So with that, let me turn it back over to the county administrator. I don't know if nobody introduced him. Jerry Dean is our new county administrator. Our previous county judge created that position right before he left office, and Judge Richards was able to fill it. And so I'll just off the cuff tell you that Kaufman County, beginning this year, it is now a county. Not only and we're going to talk about the explosive population growth in this county, but the page is turned not only with how we're transitioning from a full-on rural county to either a suburban or urban environment, but we also in this county, and the way we run it, that transition from number 2 pencils to Excel spreadsheets, and part of that is Jerry Dean's doing. So I'll turn it back over to Jerry to talk about some of the road projects.
I'm gonna let him get where he needs to be, so you turn around and clear the spot over here. You can get rid of the big screens. Move this out there. Give you a chance to get over it. get turned around.
Property tax.
I'll stand over on this side. So you've heard, you want to, I referenced earlier all these projects that are back on this sheet back here. So road projects come in two forms. So what you're going to hear a lot of in the short time to come and then for the long term to come is what's called an on-system job or an off-system job. So if a road is considered to be on-system, that means that it is a state highway. So it's either an interstate, a state highway, or a farmer's market road. Those are considered on-system roads. And so when those jobs come on, those are all jobs that the county partners with TxDOT in order to get a road built. So most everybody that lives out here takes 175 at some point in the way. If you're going 175 into Dallas, you're going to go 175 so if you get a road, you get up north. So all those projects that you see up and down 175, there's several of them listed on here. They go through this process. This is what it takes to build a road that's an on-system road. So you go through a schematic process where they got to go out and do the drawings and make sure they've got all the paperwork corrected, how it's going to be leveled, how it's going to be surveyed. That process takes anywhere from 12 to 18 months. And simultaneously, some of these other projects or other processes are working along with it. So environmental clearance, you've got to go through and make sure you've got all the easements the way they need to be. All the water has to flow. All the property rights have to be taken care of. You go through and buy up that right of way. In some cases, if it's not state owned already, it's private land owned or county owned or etc. You got to go in and acquire all the right of ways. And then you have to relocate utilities. Sometimes utilities are underground. Sometimes they're overground. Depending on where the overpass is. As you walk through this process, you finally get to a full set of complete plans. Then you get to this, you heard Kemp say, ready to let. And that ready to let means they're ready to put a shovel in the ground and start working. So now you got to go out and find a contractor, right, that's ready to do it. If it's TxDOT, typically they're ready to go, they're waiting. TxDOT is looking for counties that are ready to let. And so all of this process is what you got to get to this ready to let stage. And then from there, it's getting a contractor and getting the process going. But as you can see, this can take anywhere from 3 to 5 years to get a project going. So building roads and building new highways is a long process. And so it's very important that we take action now because it's going to take 3 and 4 years to get the highways built. And so you got to stay ahead of all of these things. If you remember in 2013, there was a bond. That bond was a $56 million road bond, and some of the projects that are in that road bond still have not left. They are still working. Now, a lot of work has been done. There's still some to be left. The good news is the county has been in a unique position where for every dollar of that $56 million that was put in there, the county has got $7 back in matching funding. So those matching funds come from TxDOT, they come from federal dollars, they come from the transportation coalitions. So it's a great place to be as we move forward. So you'll see a lot of them on this list. And the ones that are on the very top of that list back there, that are the on system, you'll see the words on there that'll say on system or off system. Off system is a county road, on system is a state road. This process is what they're going to go through. So with that, I'm going to turn over to the judge. This is on that county.
So we'll have plenty of time for questions. Talk about how we're going to finish up this conversation about roads and bridges and our funding. We spent about $16.6 million, $17 million in this current year on our road and bridge. That's county road maintenance. Precinct 4, which is us here, it's about $4 million. 4.6 for Precinct 1, which is Kaufman. Precinct 2, which is up around 40, gets 3.9. You can see those numbers. Traditionally, the way the county has divided the money up, it's been fairly much divided by force. One of the things that we've had a lot of discussions about, what I would consider fixing. So, Precinct 2, which is the 40 precinct, only has about 50 miles of road in it. We've got about 300 miles of roads. Now remember, each one of these precincts gets about a fourth of the money. What that translates to is the precinct in 40 in this year's budget, it's got about $75,000 per mile to spend on those 50 miles of roads. Here in Precinct 4, which is your precinct, Commissioner Cates has got about $15,000 a mile. And we're trying to address that in our budget process to more adequately fund those roads by, I don't even really know how they arrived at the funding before. No one really can explain that to us, but we're trying to get that funding mostly appropriated by the number of road miles. You got twice as many road miles, you get twice as much money as the government. This is something I don't think a lot of people think about. I don't know why you would think about it. These are our precincts: 4, 1, Kaufman, 3, Carroll, 2, 40. You can see how big precinct 4 is. Well, a logical person would say, well, if we're going to be having the commissioners do road work, and why wouldn't you divide that in like 4 equal parts? The reason is because these precinct lines are not drawn according to anything that makes any sense as far as maintaining roads go. That doesn't have anything to do with it. The precinct lines are drawn according to what the voting population is. And we do that every census, and we'll be doing that in 2020. We're going to be redrawing the lines. And unfortunately, what's going to happen is this precinct is going to physically get bigger. This precinct with the 50 miles in it is going to get smaller because they've got, you know how much development is important. So we're not going to get out of this trap that we're in of doing road maintenance according to the political populations. A lot of people, I think a smart, logical person would say these precincts should be more evenly divided according to the road lines. Am I in the way? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Okay. He was talking about both of them talked about growth. Now, I was talking with a lady about growth a while ago back there. I don't think any of us really like change, right? I know change is an uncomfortable thing for people.
The older we get.
A lot of us have moved. A lot of us. I moved to Kaufman County in 1981, and I loved living in a rural county. But here's what's going on right now. In 1932, long before I was here, there were 5,000 cars in Kaufman County. 1946, during the war years, 6,800. 1956, that's long about the time I came into the world, there were 8,700 cars registered in Kaufman County. In 1970, that's long about the time I graduated high school. 1970, that doesn't seem like very long ago to me. 1970, we had 12,000 cars in Kaufman County. 12,000 cars. Today, we have 124,000 cars registered in Kaufman County. Think about the impact that has on our road systems. County roads, state roads, all of them. We have 124,000 cars registered here in 5 or 6 years. Like it or not, that's going to be 200,000 cars and probably about 200,000 people. We're about 130,000 people now. And I'm sorry if you don't like that. It doesn't matter because they're coming and we can't stop them. Okay, we were talking about the bad word, the word my wife, the term my wife will let me use, but she's not here. We like to joke about redneck engineering, right, Mary? Some people say country boy engineering or something. Jerry, being the politically correct guy, wants to call it county engineering. This is a culvert where it's washed out a bunch of times, and so what we've done, because we didn't really know exactly what else to do, I guess. We used all this rubble, broken concrete and stuff to kind of try to keep that from washing out, and I've been told that didn't work very well. Here's another effort. We had a big water, particularly this precinct, the stormwater is a huge problem, and I don't know where this one is actually, but this is where we tried to build a concrete head wall to keep a culvert from washing out, and now the water's all about behind it and washing it all out. It's not because we weren't trying hard, but maybe we just didn't understand what we did. This is what they're talking about, this is what a professional engineered bridge or culvert is going to look like, where you can have a good strong head wall for a really heavy water condition. Here's another county engineered road. This road, not in this precinct actually, this road was built, and it was really, really nice and smooth when they built it. 6 months later, it looked like this. The reason is, and you really may not be able to see it, they didn't provide any drainage in this road. There's no ditches. And so that road lasted 6 months, and it was an expensive project. That's what a properly, you see that the way the ditches are cut on this road, that's what a properly designed engineer road would look like. So we've been talking about roads this whole time. We do a lot of other things. Kaufman County does a lot of other, provides a lot of other services for you that I'd like you to think about for a minute. We are the virtually all of your justice system, from justice of the peace to district courts, court of law. All of those things are done at the county level. The district attorney takes care of all of the prosecution for people. Actually, in our case, we do a lot of civil work for us. We have a veterans administration, that we have a person that manages veteran affairs for us. We do a ton of things. Here's the message. Commissioner Cates, about 20% or 25% of what he should be doing, in my opinion, has to do with roads, working with Barry. But we have a lot of other governance things, and as we become a more urbanized county, the county needs these commissioners to be more involved in doing things besides just supervising roads. There's a lot of work to be done. And I'm not gonna, I love my job. I've only been in office since January. I really enjoy every day that I'm at work. But I will tell you that I have like 14 people that report to me. Human Resource Department, the Facilities Department, the Information Technology Department, all those people are in and out of my office every day. We've got great people, but the truth is, in most cases, there's only so many hours in the day, and I tell people that my involvement in what they're doing is an inch deep and a mile wide. Commissioners need to be more involved in what we're doing in government county. So, we talked about county engineering, farmwood engineering, or whatever. What we've done, and what we're doing in this year's budget, is we're funding a position that's going to be a county engineer. This person's going to be a degree civil engineer. He's going to have an engineer, he's going to license to practice engineering in Texas. He's going to have 5 or more, he or she is going to have 5 or more years of professional engineering experience, knowledge of bridge design, drainage systems, erosion control, and knowledge of operating in a capital budget and figuring out how to help us budget for our road projects. This is going to be a big step for us, and most of the people that I have met with and talked with in the county, like at my training sessions and stuff, most of them are surprised. A county like us, and I didn't say this, we are the 3rd fastest growing county by percentage. We are the 3rd fastest growing county in the United States. And that's comes from the Census Bureau. We've got to have a more professional way of building roads, taking care of storm drains, storm problems, flood water. So that brings us to the last part of the discussion. Yesterday, Wednesday? It was yesterday. Yesterday, the Commissioners Court voted to put a bond initiative, 2 bond initiatives to the voters on November the 5th. The first one has to do with road improvements. The total amount of that money, I don't know if this means anything to anybody, but it's $104 million. There are 70, we have a list that you see, we have 73 projects on that list. Now, I think all of us are proud of this. Half of those projects and half the money is on county roads. It's defined for county roads, which are badly needed. It's for reconstructing county roads, not putting asphalt or just paving on it. It's for rebuilding the roads, most of which nothing's been done to them in that fashion since they were built probably in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. We have a detailed list of road projects that everybody can see. That's the biggest part of the bond initiative that voters are gonna have to vote on. The other part was the very last bullet there is county facilities. I'm gonna skip ahead, so I'm not gonna skip it. Okay, county facilities, what's that include? Is that slide showing the picture of the?
Yes, it's about 3 down, so let's go ahead and go through them. So,
Okay, county facilities. How many of you have served, has done jury duty in the county? Not that many. Y'all are answering your jury summons, right? You've been on jury duty? Really? That's surprising. I don't think they let me serve with that. This is a Monday jury call day in the courthouse in Kaufman. You can see all the people lined up here. Now, I don't really like, I'm suspicious when people start talking to me too much about safety and security. We gotta do this because it's dangerous. That being said, if we don't do something about this situation, something really bad is gonna happen. Today, about 3 o'clock, I was in the sheriff's office, talking business with him. He gets a message from the courthouse. They had a hearing in there. There was a murder trial involved, and this was the hearing, or this was the part of the trial where families were together and they were telling the guy that did the murder, they were telling him the effect. What do they call that? Can somebody tell me that? What impact statements? They were doing impact statements on this guy, telling him what he'd done to them and how he had ruined their lives. So as soon as the hearing is over, this big, huge shouting match breaks out between the two families. The thing spills over into the hallway. Thank goodness we've got great sheriff's deputies that are stationed at the courthouse. They've got those people they pushed them out of the courthouse, out into the plaza in the front. That was just an incident. That's the 4th or the 5th time since I've been in office in January that we've had some sort of a serious incident like that. And we're going to make some of this stuff available on video. You're going to be able to actually watch some of it because we have surveillance video. It's a matter of time until somebody gets hurt. It's a dangerous situation. Okay. This is still me, right?
it is.
Okay. This is precinct 4, and we're pretty proud of what you're going to see. If you go to the county's website, you're going to be able to go to this map on our website, and you're going to be able to click on one of these projects. This is all precinct 4. You're going to be able to click on one of these projects, and they're going to be able to define for you. This is a road bond project. I'm going to tell you what road it is and what the status of it is, what the status of the project is. It's not all county roads. There'll be some state highway roads on there too, but that's going to be really good for our citizens that it's hard to communicate that. You want to talk about this, Ken, or do you want to? I don't. You want to listen right there?
Yeah, these are just in our county road bond proposal. These are just our first cut. This is our first phase of the roads that we propose to actually let and reconstruct completely by contract, by actually employing Austin Pavement or Texas Bid or somebody to actually come in and build these roads from the ground up. So for precinct 4 of the $104 million road bond proposal, including both our county road proposals and a number of Highway 175 related improvements for frontage road and overpasses, precinct 4 will realize about $22 million of road work from this road bond if the voters approve.
We'll take questions in just a minute. Okay, I'm going to say something, and y'all heard me say this the other day, and I just can't resist since I'm in Ken's hometown or home place here. We talked about this county engineer. one of the things that a county engineer would do is supervise these contracts. They'd write the specifications, they'd be involved with the contractors in making sure that this work is spec'd properly, that's bid properly, and that's done properly. Now, what we've been relying on all these years is consultants. And some of them do a good job, but we had a consultant, can I tell this story? Okay. We had a consultant based in Frisco. They've been here they were with the county for a long time. And they were doing some flood control work in Precinct 4. And your commissioner is a very demanding guy. He calls me several times a week, demanding that I do something. He thinks he's my boss, but he's not. This engineering company came out and did a really lousy job, and actually helped create a flooding problem with some people that were living in the precinct. And so Commissioner Kemp, being his demanding self, called these guys in Frisco and said, y'all need to get out here. And so he was really kind of abrupt with them. And the next day I got an email from the engineering company, and they fired us. They said, Commissioner Kate's being mean to us, and we're going to quit working for y'all. So we got somebody else, so it's not worried. He's a demanding guy. And all these little projects.
Judge, by the way, that was really buried.
Oh, were you the one that called those people and gave them
That was
a long
really-
way up?
I was there.
Oh. Was he mean to them?
No, not too much.
Well, they thought he was mean to them. Okay, those projects, all these projects, you probably can't read that. It's on those lists right there. So you have to read it yourself. What did I leave out? You want to take that? This is your house.
Yeah, well, it's actually the judge's house right there, and my office. So, as the judge has told you, we have a $104 million proposal for county roads, of which $22 million is for this precinct. The rest of it is spread around the other precincts, as well as some connectivity, some traffic flow problems that are all up there around I-20 and I-30 as well. But those things, that even though they are kind of tied to state highways, they really take the pressure off our county roads. So of the $104 million, $22 million or so comes from Precinct 4. The other great thing that does, should that bond initiative be approved, is it multiplies what Barry and his crew can do. Because for every one of those roads that gets rehabbed and rebuilt in that project list, our standing road crews are able to do other stuff that they would be called upon to try to keep those roads passable in the meantime. But there's a second proposal on the ballot in November, and that's a facilities bond initiative in the amount of $50,000.
50 million.
I'm sorry, 50 million, sorry, that's a big difference. 50 million, of which, as the judge pointed out, a lot of that money is dedicated to correcting this problem that we have down in the Kaufman Courthouse, where we have wall-to-wall people and prisoners on chain gangs being brought in there every day. The county right now alone spends over $100,000 a year just transporting prisoners from the jail to the courthouse and back again every day. So, and let alone all the safety issues. If you've ever been up there, you see these guys coming in on a chain gang. And at the same time, if you're up there, if you're trying to get divorced, your wife's sitting on one end of the bench and you and your lawyer on the other, or whatever judicial issue you have is going on out in the hallways, because it's a building that was built in 1955, and it is busting at the seams, literally. The district attorney's office, they have prosecuting attorneys that sit in closets. Some of them sit in an old safe, a room that was a vault. There's a refurbished bathroom that they sit in. The civil attorneys that work for us, that do our legal work at the county, they sit in the 1950 bomb shelter that's down in the basement that flooded this spring. So the courthouse is a genuine need. But it's not the only facilities need. All of the sub-courthouses and other facilities around the county have a need. In Kemp, we have a sub-courthouse. Every time the judge here holds court, we exceed the fire marshal's load limit for that building. It's also just as crowded. It's wall to wall. We have this one little hallway. You've probably been in there trying to get your license plates on court days, or the judge is becoming ever more popular for weddings, right? When you have a big wedding in there.
Good job, Johnny.
It's wall to wall, and so we have to do something to better accommodate our population growth. As the judge said, we're the third fastest growing by percentage in the nation. We're like at 138,000. We'll plus up 50,000 in this county in the next 5 to 7 years. So that facilities bond is going to do something for every one of these precincts, including, for instance, a sheriff's substation. All of our sheriff's operations take place right out there where the new jail is. I don't know however long you lived in Kaufman County. That's what everyone says, you know, well, you got that new jail. So the new jail out there is 15 years old. The pipes in that jail have risen up out of the ground about 4 inches over the years. So it's not as new as it once was. But we have facilities needs that are real and critical all over the county. One of which is the sheriff. We hope to build, if this passes, a sheriff substation up in the Forney area so that the sheriff will actually have a presence where 50 or more % of the county's population resides up there. So this bond will be a great thing for the Forney subdivision.
Are you through?
I am.
I got one last, oh yeah, this is funny. I got one last thing to say about the two bond initiatives. First, I guess more than one thing to say. It's important for you to realize that when it comes to the transportation bond and the facilities bond, we haven't done anything other than basically pass it to the voters. Y'all are going to have the choice is what you do. Your choice is going to be Plan A or Plan B. Plan A on the transportation, Plan A on those facilities, particularly that courthouse that you saw. Plan A is that we address the problem through the issuance of these bonds. Plan B is we don't do anything. And that's going to be the voters' decision. It's hard for some of us to see how that's going to work out as we continue to grow. We desperately depend on getting in and out of the Metroplex for our prosperity. I would say at least half to 2/3 of the people in Kaufman County derive their income out of the Metroplex. And this is just kind of some funny things that I wanted to alert everybody to. These are things that we're already picking up, chatter we're already picking up off the internet about this bond initiative. This one up here says, people need to start watching, asking questions, and asking why our taxes are not being lowered more with the county has over $1 billion in income. Well, I don't know where they're getting at, but we don't have $1 billion in income. They're confusing our assessed tax value, which is 10 billion. That's our value. We do not collect $1 billion in income. And it says, is it true the new Justice Center, that's what we were just discussing, is it true the new Justice Center is built? If it's built, all JP judges and their employees will move to Kaufman. Have you heard this? Okay. But we'd love to have you in Kaufman, Johnny, if you want to come. That is not true. I don't know why people would say something as silly as that. And then the last one is, why are the voters of Kaufman County paying for state highways? Is that not double taxing? Here's how it works. You know the 7-to-1 number for every dollar that we spent in that bond money? We got $7 of TxDOT money or federal money on our roadways in Kaufman County. That's the way it works. 50 years ago, TxDOT built all the highways. Today, they have $100 in projects for every dollar they have to spend. If a county like us, and there are 4 counties in the Metroplex like us that have figured this out, if you get a project ready for construction, TxDOT will put money on that project to get that built. If you don't contribute, or if a county or a city doesn't put money into the project, you're going to be at the bottom of the line, like Kaufman County used to be. So, TxDOT is not building highways in Texas, mostly unless they have local contribution. So,
Question? I don't think we really, maybe one thing we didn't make clear is that the other big part of that facilities bond money is to build what we term a justice center. So that all of those criminal courts that are, and those district attorneys and all of that judicial stuff that is now packed into the old Kaufman County Courthouse will move out to existing land that we own besides the sheriff's office, and we'll build a new justice center there. And all of the justice type agencies.
The high risk.
Court functions, those are the things associated with that. That's why we move out right next to the sheriff's department, so that the prisoners can walk back and forth in a secure tunnel, and we won't be having these big chain gangs and buses going down to the courthouse. The courthouse will remain as the courthouse of Kaufman County. If you go in there now, you have to take your shoes off and go through the metal detector and all that kind of security stuff. Believe it or not, that courthouse is a historic building in the state of Texas, and we are under order to remove that front security vestibule that got added. So this bond will enable us to move all those criminal court functions out over there by the sheriff's department, and then return the courthouse to really a public service building, so that when you need to go and get a marriage license or file your deed, or go down and get something filed in the clerk's office, or go see the tax assessor, all of that will get relocated back into the courthouse after it is also refurbished, after the new building is built.
We occupy 4 buildings in downtown Kaufman in addition to the courthouse, and the plan that the architects have shown us is that we actually can accommodate every single one of those offices in the courthouse and sell those buildings, some of which are, they're all old buildings that are gonna give us trouble. And we can sell those buildings and let them get on the tax rolls and generate some tax revenue.
And here's the great thing about what ends up being, if you ask me, because I know we all, every one of us, your commissioner, your county judge, your JP, we all pay the same property, 2 high property taxes that the rest of the people in this county pay. So I will say in my 8 months now that I've been a commissioner, I can tell you without question that your commissioner's court, all the 3 other commissioners and the county judge, the administrator, and really everyone that we deal with every day in governing this county, they are genuinely good stewards of your money. They agonize over every penny. And so we have crafted a bond initiative, and correct me if I'm wrong, Judge or Jerry, but our specialists who are bond people, who are the financial wizards at building bond programs, we are going to be able to propose and put this $150 million worth of development for this county out, and if it's approved, the average cost to the average Kaufman County taxpayer will be about $17 extra per year. Isn't that right? 7. So it'll cost you about $17 extra. That's our projection. It'll only cost $17 more in property tax per year. That in return we will flush up $101 million in road money, and over $50 million in modernizing our county facilities.
So, and that number's conservative.
Right.
Yeah, they're basing that on a 4.5% interest rate, and the bonds today are selling at 2.8.
Right. So we really, and I said it last night. I'm gonna say it one more time, not to embarrass him, but the truth is, I also believe that we're really fortunate that we have Hal Richards as our county judge, as well as Jerry. Both these guys have a great business head. Hal's a very successful businessman, ran or semi-runs a successful company. And
I have 2 sons running.
Oh, now his son's running. But nevertheless, there's not a thing we do that we don't scrutinize what's the dollar impact. And the judge is right. More than I ever expected, 25 or 30% of what I do every day is about working on these Precinct 4 roads and trying to find the money that Barry needs to try to leap us forward. But the other 65 or 70% is all about the governance of this county. And I just want to brag on Kaufman County for a second, then I swear I'll shut up. I was a citizen in Kaufman County for 20 years, and the truth is, I didn't know anything about county government. I couldn't really have told you who the other commissioners were, or what the issues in Kaufman County were, or really, I never even thought about all the things that the county does for us. And it's just the way it is in the state of Texas. The county is really where the rubber meets the road. So every deed that gets filed, every time a sheriff's deputy either comes driving through your neighborhood or gets out of his car to get a stray cow off the road, obviously every courtroom that gets operated, every judge, the tax collector that sells us our license plates. We have a very robust indigent health care program in this county. We have a dedicated veterans office that will do anything for any veteran that walks in. Any veteran that gets lost in the VA system can come to the county veterans officer, and that guy will hold your hand and walk you through that system. So we have so many services that so many of us, maybe they kind of get lost in the shuffle. And that's really where the $55 million or so a year that the county lives on goes to. The county lives on about 18 to 20% of your total tax dollar. That's it. The rest of it goes, to schools and to the state and all these other places. I genuinely tell you, many of you here are my friends, and I give you my solemn promise that you have a bunch of people watching out for your money at this county. Above that, above my pay grade, but at the county level, I'm confident that we do a pretty good job, and we can do better, and we strive to do better. And this bond initiative, in my opinion, is an example of that. We put it out there for the voters to make a decision, and that's really how government, in Texas works. So, however it turns out, that's how it will be. So, what questions?
I said, now questions.
Now questions. Any specific questions? Yes, ma'am.
I have one, and don't be offended, but I just want to know, I'm very curious. I recently had to go and protest our taxes with very good reason. We just purchased our home last year, they cannot charge us taxes on a larger price than what we pay for our home, so hope that will. However, why is it that Kaufman County opts not to allow for the Texas homestead exemption and another 65 exemption? They will give you one or the other, but they will not give you both. And having been raised in Harris County, where you get both, that's kind of worrisome.
Let me repeat the question. To summarize the question basically, in some counties, we have a homestead exemption on your property taxes. In some counties, they also offer an exemption for people that are over 65. And Kaufman County doesn't do that. I don't know how many counties do. Harris County, down in Houston, does. And here's my answer. All school taxes are frozen at 65. You get a school tax exemption. That's the state law.
The rate,
And,
not the rate, but not your appraised value, which is the other side.
no, your taxes, your school taxes, the dollars that you pay in school taxes never go up if you file an exemption at 65. The dollars never go
The
up.
total
On school
dollars that
taxes,
you pay or the tax rate?
the tax dollars that you pay never increase. Your appraisal goes up, but you're fixed at that. So I'm just saying that about schools. To me, I understand why your school taxes are frozen at 65, because you're probably not adding any cost to the school system after 65, most of us are not. But the truth of the matter is, it costs the county, if the county gives you an over 65 exemption, somebody's gonna make up that money. And that somebody is probably gonna be somebody that's, a couple that's in their 30s and they're raising kids. So the taxes that you're exempted from at 65 are the taxes that they're having to pay. It costs the county just as much to provide you the judicial services, the tax office services, all those things. It doesn't cost the county any less for you. And I understand that's not the answer a lot of people like, but
I don't know, it makes perfect sense.
and it makes sense to exempt people 65 and over for schools, but to me, I think that we should pay, we shouldn't put that burden on somebody else. Anyway, thank you.
Let me just say one thing about appraisals too, because, everybody, I'm sure everybody generally understands that there's two components to your tax. One, what your tax rate is, and one, how the appraisal district appraises the value of your property, market value of the property. So, when it comes to the tax rate, that's on us here at the Commissioner's Court. And this year, the Commissioner's Court, even with this bond proposal, we are lowering your tax rate by right about 9%. Is that correct?
8.8 right now.
8.8 right now. So your tax rate for next year will be lowered at the county level by.
And you do that now because I just turned 65 this year, and you raised my taxes by almost,
Okay, so
$25,000 on my house.
So let me
Just asking that, Kenny.
just asking, just putting it out there. So let me just speak to that, Dr. Underwood. We didn't raise your taxes. In fact, if I accomplish nothing else in the 4-year term that I have, today, actually last night, I accomplished one thing. Several weeks ago, maybe a couple of months ago, when all the appraisals started coming in, and a lot of people were upset, including us. I protested my taxes as well. Everyone began to harangue me about why are you raising my taxes? Why is Kaufman County raising my taxes? When in fact, the appraisal district is, I guess, the culprit. They're the action arm of the state of Texas. And I spent a lot of time explaining to people the appraisal district is not the county. They don't work for us. We are not them, they are not us. So I went to the chairman of the board of what was the Kaufman County Appraisal District, and his name's Robert Dobbs. And I said, Robert, do one thing for me. Change the darn name of the appraisal district. And last night, the appraisal district changed their name to the Central Appraisal District of Kaufman. So at least now, I got that accomplished. They are no
It used to
longer.
be the Kaufman County Appraisal District.
Everybody
knows
said
it was part of Kaufman County.
So just so you know, and again, backfill me here, but the appraisal district works for the state of Texas. They work for the comptroller's office, not for the county.
They work under the authority of the comptroller's office. And they are mandated, they are required by the state of Texas to appraise your value and market value. And I will say that I think it's fair to say that the appraisal office in Kaufman County was not functioning properly for years. And they screwed up with some appraisals, no question. Yes, sir.
You made reference several times to a bond. When is the bond election? What is the date?
The bond election is November the 5th.
Okay.
Early voting will start 2 weeks before that, or something. You know the date for the
October 6th.
October 6th, I think.
Okay. Because I think you mentioned it, I missed it.
I'm sorry. And I'll tell you that we're going to be communicating with the public, a lot. You're gonna, that's part of, that's Gary's, now that we're getting out of the budget, that's his job now, is to coordinate the communication. Websites, you'll get lots of communication about what we're doing and why we're doing it.
So can I ask you a question? So out of the bond issue, $104 million or whatever it is, Precinct 4, which is where I've lived the entire time I've been in Kaufman County, has always got the short end of the stick. Seems like you're still getting the short end of the stick. And it's not employed, it's still 25%. Is there any way or headway you could talk the commissioner in Precinct 2 giving up a little bit of money? I mean, he's got 50 miles, we've got 300.
No, we really are getting a more than fair share. That we are well represented in our projects that are on the project list right now. And in fact, I'm confident that there'll be far more project work that come out of our $22 million came from empirical studies. We, with Barry's help and my input and really our whole precinct, we identified the projects that we wanted to take on first, and we costed those out in our county engineering way that we do. And believe me, we costed them out on the high side. But the reality is that every commissioner every year in the whole state of Texas is required by law to file his official road report. So we inventory our roads every year. We have to certify the length and width and the condition of our roads and how many bridges and how many culverts and what it takes to bring those roads up to basically the state standard. And so with Barry's help and actually one of these college kids that we hired this year to recertify the dimensions of our roads, we projected how much money it would take for Precinct 4 to bring their roads up to pretty darn good standards, and that number came out at 18 million. So we're in for 22 million, which is 4 million more than we need, which is really going to address a lot of our connectivity and safety overpasses in the south end of the county from Kaufman to Maybank on 175. So the other precincts are not, because money is 50% of that money. 50 million is really drawn off for 175 frontage work, a lot of work that truly is on sort of what they call on-system roads, state roads, FM roads, but they impact our county. So for instance, there's big projects up around Crandall. So the 148, FM 148 bypass, because now FM, if you ever go through Crandall, FM 148 snakes through the city of Crandall. So from the 2013 bond, there was about $5 million or just under $5 million that has been percolating through that long system that Jerry talked about since 2013 to finally straighten 148 and put a bypass that's going to kind of go around the golf course and take all the traffic and trucks out of downtown Crandall. There's more money for Precinct 4 that's really invested in what's called the Judge's Fund, but since it's for FM roads and state roads, it's not in my precinct.
It's in my, the reason it's showing in mine, if you stick at that list, you see it'll be the county judge. The reason it's in my list is because it crosses precincts. These projects are involving multiple precincts, so they put my name. So, just take this, you ought to know this by now, Ralph, as much as you and I interact here. I'm a pretty much of a scrapper, and that's why I ran for this job, because I got tired of Precinct 4. Precinct 4 has almost 40% of the roads in Kaufman County, and this year got about 29% of the money. Not that, you know, so.
Precinct 4 roads.
Right, so that's why, that was the main thing that motivated me to run. I thought, well, that's a bunch of BS, you know. Precinct 2, up around 40, has 55 miles of road. And within $100,000 or so, they essentially got the same amount of money that Precinct 4 got. And so I really have worked hard, and these guys will tell you, I've been a thorn in people's side, and we, in addition to this bond initiative, we have plussed up by 15 or 20% or more actual traditional road maintenance money that's going to come to Precinct 4 in the 2020 budget. So we've made a big stride there already.
Let me make something really clear. What we did is what the Commissioners Court have been discussing in our draft, the current state of the budget that we have allocates the road building costs of their budget, you know, the materials, and that it allocates that based on road miles. But that is not the final budget. And this has been, I'll just tell you, this has been somewhat of a struggle. As a businessman, my point from the beginning of the time I took office in January is we need to allocate road money, we need to allocate precinct maintenance road money based on some sort of a formula, not just based on, well, let's give them 24%, let's give them 22%, which is my impression is the way it's been done. So my ask for the commissioners is that we come up with some sort of formula. The only formula that we came up with that made any sense to us or to anybody is to allocate a good part of that money according to the number of miles of road we have in the precinct. Now that makes sense to me, but I'm just telling y'all, if you want to observe the process, you're welcome to come to the Commissioners Court meeting on Monday at 9 o'clock, because we're going to be talking about this, and I'm not 100% convinced that we're not going to have a problem. So, about allocating this money according to road miles. So I don't know what you're doing on Monday, but you're welcome to come listen to the discussion, and we'll be talking about it in open court. Yes, sir.
But of course, you know, I've been sick, I haven't been able to come, but they're on Monday now at 9 o'clock?
No, we're having a special meeting. We meet right now, we meet every Wednesday at 9 o'clock, but we're meeting Monday because we're getting, the plan is we're gonna meet Monday and we're gonna hash out the last part of this budget. I'm hoping that we put this to bed on the allocation of road money. I don't have a preference for precinct 4. I live in precinct 3. I'm the county judge, and I just want the money allocated in a way that it makes good business sense. And I think that's where we are right now, but I'm just laying down this to people this could change in the discussion on Monday, and you're welcome to come and listen, and you're welcome to make comments during the discussion if you want to advocate for what you think is fair for precinct 4.
One more question for him.
Yes, sir.
This that we were talking to you about last night, can I just schedule that for some other time where it don't clash with this and talk to y'all at the court or?
Come into the office, just call me.
Okay, because you know what's going on about that.
Okay, do y'all understand what I'm saying about this allocation of money? Okay, I just mean that this is me. Y'all are the voters, and you're the ones that we should be listening to if you got input.
So allocation of the budget for road and bridge, which is a separate fund. Road and bridge, even though you all pay taxes, your taxes gets divided up into different funds. And road and bridge is it's standalone kind of a fund that is a component of your tax bill. In fact, if you look on your tax bill, you'll see that it's broken out, and it tells you what you paid for road and bridge. And here's a big eye opener for most people. In precinct 4, and really probably most of the county, the average tax contribution that a precinct 4 taxpayer pays for dedicated road and bridge is $100 a year or less. And in many instances, it's much less. It's very, very common for people to pay $40 a year for road maintenance. So if you don't believe me, ask Barry. You can't even pay a parking spot for $100. So that's another issue that goes on. What I didn't tell you before, I was remiss. When I told you that we're going to cobble together $716,000 next Wednesday and let contracts to do contract road repair, that sounds like a lot of money. The average cost of a mile of contract county road paving is $100,000 to $105,000 a mile. Now, if Barry had unlimited workers and all the equipment he needed, we think the county, we could maybe do it at $70,000 or $75,000 a mile. But big companies that really have the big machines that can run one long strip of asphalt that when you do road construction like that, you get 3 to 5 to 7 years of virtual maintenance-free roads. That's $105,000 a mile. So if you look at the 300 miles of precinct 4, you can see that's cost prohibitive. So road repair is expensive, but the average taxpayer in precinct 4 pays $100 a year or less for road repair. So, but the judge is right. So it's a dogfight. Up until now, it's been a negotiated, kind of a thing. And I can be irritating, and I have been irritating. It's not always pleasant, but I really find it indefensible that a precinct that has 55 miles of road gets virtually the same money that my precinct gets that has 300 miles of road. Now, that commissioner will tell you that, well, he has more traffic on his roads, and his roads are more expensive because some of them are concrete. And I say, guess what? I have concrete roads. And what I've learned in my short time as your road commissioner is that engineering firms will tell you that when it comes to assessing road traffic, that one large vehicle, one 50,000-pound vehicle, like a giant garbage truck or a rock hauler, every time it runs down a county road, that's equal to 10,000 vehicle, regular cars. That's like 10,000 cars just drove over. That's how much damage and wear and tear that one truck will do on that road. That's what our engineering firm gave us. So all of the intangible arguments that I've heard about other precincts that have more traffic, believe me, I got intangible arguments that offset that. So if we have 40% of the roads, we need to have 40% of the money, and that's my position. So we'll see how it turns out. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Well, to the judge's point about how to decide what to base the division of the money on, knowledge of road or whatever, typically, most institutes will base it on volume of traffic. And based on what you just said about the big rock haulers, precinct 4 has the most rock haulers.
That's for
So
sure.
do that math, and then count the volume of traffic on the roads in precinct 4.
Well,
Use the volume of traffic.
that's and as you know, you've seen some of this stuff on social media. That's a position I always try to explain to people that, particularly our precinct, like all the gravel pits and everything is down. Everything else that happens in Kaufman County passes through precinct 4 because all the base construction material comes right through our roads. So for all the prosperity and all the building that's going on up in Forney and precinct 2, that all just generates more traffic and more volume on our roads as well. So
The simple thing is to allocate that money by road miles, and that's a simple, fair, equitable way to do it. We'll see how that works out.
anything else? Yes, ma'am.
Are there copies of the paperwork available for
Yes,
projects?
yes, ma'am. Right over here at the back table.
Pass those out.
Okay. Well, we probably kept you
Hey,
here.
Bartlett.
Oh, one more.
You can have nothing up there. What does Kaufman County bring in revenue? Property taxes, state taxes, the whole 9 yards of taxes that the citizenry pays in. Okay, there was no breakdown as to say, okay, you have X amount of money for roads. Well, how much does, Kaufman County take in from everybody in this county? I mean, I'm from Tarrant County, but how much does all this take in? And then divide it by your roads, what you want to do with the offices in Kaufman, and all that kind of stuff. How do you break all that down? I didn't see any of that.
Well, we didn't go into that today. If you'll send me an email, I'll send you. We've got a great chart that shows where our money goes and where it's spent. I don't have it with me tonight, but I'll be happy to just email it to you. We'll send it to you. We'll send you a chart that will show where our money comes from and how we spend it. And it's just a real simple graphic.
Okay, because I'm dealing with Tarrant County too, because I got 2 rent houses. I just moved out here, I've been out here for 25 years, but I just moved, retired, and came out here. Luckily, my wife's ex-mom, we've got a nice house there on the lake. And anyway, now I'm getting involved, because I was involved I lived right outside of downtown Fort Worth. I got real heavily involved with Alton city politics. Okay, I'm gonna start getting involved with this politics because, I'm looking at where my money goes. And, I didn't see anything up here.
Yeah, we didn't get into the overall budget, but as the judge said, he'll send you
We've got a great piece. We've done this same kind of a presentation. Oh, I'm sorry.
But, Jerry, what's the number? 55 million this year?
Yeah, they're not total, that's total income, that's taxes, that's fees, that's
but,
everything.
Yeah, you need to break down, okay, X amount for your roads, X amount for the budget that you want for your buildings and costs.
We've done that.
And guarantee you, when I go to Kaufman and walk in there,
We
I
have
go
that.
in and out. When I was in Tarrant County, you're gonna be in a big line.
I'll say that, if I can give you high level, about 40% of our money goes to law enforcement. Because that's the, public safety is the number
Oh,
one.
I'm back to
expense.
blue, 100%.
So about 40% goes to law enforcement, then you have the rest of that 60 is kind of split up between buildings you have to maintain.
Yeah.
People that you got,
Yeah.
and then administrative people, administrative staff, but the biggest chunk of it by far is law enforcement. So
We got that in the
we did, yeah, we have.
Yeah, we'll email it to you.
Schools
Well,
not.
schools,
Schools in
I
different
never
towns.
understood that, why they build these stadiums, and I'm sitting here going, that's not teaching kids nothing but watching a football team. And that does not make sense to me.
Well, we got nothing to do with that.
Okay, any one last question? All right, guys, thank you for coming here, thanks for investing time. Thanks to all the precinct 4 officials that came out to support us tonight.
No, we're gonna figure it out.
My office is in the Kemp Sub Courthouse. You can come up there and join the crowd and yell at me. That happens a lot every day. Or you can just come by there and drink coffee, because we always have coffee. So, thanks a lot, appreciate you being here.